Finally, through the wonder of credit card points, I'm going to Japan. Business class. But it's a code share, so ANA and United. Part 1, ANA Business Class. Using credit card points, I booked this business class flight as a round trip in and out of Dulles to Tokyo Haneda Airport. I'd heard many great things about ANA and was a little disappointed when I found out the return leg would be on United. But it's an opportunity to compare the two, so let's take a look. We'd be flying west on a 787. I don't think I'd been on one before. First and business class passengers had a separate jetway. Here's that moment when you get to your seat and find the stack of stuff. The seat itself looked very new and very comfortable. It turned out it was. And with the herringbone pattern, it was going to be spacious too. I almost never opened the amenity kit, but this time I did, and it had like 2 things in it. But it was a nice bag for some future use. The IFE was a good size. Overhead lights and air vents. Take that, 777. Here's the remote screen control and the seat controls. It would be difficult to overstate how much legroom there was, a ton. There was even a cup holder, which for me was superfluous. Now there were a couple of ports for electronics from a bygone era, but overall this plane looked very new. Soon enough we pushed back and look at the tint on those windows.
The passengers after sliding down.
ANA gets the highest possible marks for including Pokemon in its safety video. In business class, Wi-Fi is free, but remember to turn off your VPN. That always tricks me. If you've seen my videos before, you know I like takeoffs and landings an awful lot, so here's a takeoff. The other good thing about a takeoff is it gives me a chance to ask you to subscribe to my channel. I'm nearing a threshold and it would be really helpful if you would subscribe. And look, the plane's going to take off whether you subscribe or not, but it sure would be a great thing because more people will get to see this video if you do. Anyway, thank you. Now let's get back into getting up in the air. We had a good day for flying and the entire flight over to Japan was pretty smooth. The return flight, well, just wait and see. Here was the first of many wet naps I would encounter in Japan, and then we received the menu. For my first meal, which we'll call dinner, I had champagne and I ordered the steak. The pull-out table is very large and I got a tablecloth. Kanpai. I'm better at showing food than describing how it tastes, but you're immediately going to notice that there's no steak in these pictures. As I was in the last business class row, they ran out of my choice, and so I had the Japanese meal. Fortunately, it was really good, and I was able to fake using chopsticks quite well. I hope the fruit bowl came with a fork for everyone. This was my first trans-Pacific flight, and certainly the longest flight I'd ever been on. And I was beginning to get a little bored already, so I looked at the shopping, nothing special. I checked out my entertainment choices and decided to watch the map briefly. And while I was doing that, the cabin began to grow dark. Yep, it's those windows that they can tint remotely. That meant it was time to look at the bathroom. So look at the bathroom. It was spotlessly clean and had a number of amenities, and it had the first Japanese toilet I was going to see this trip. And I had to know, so here's the view from the bathroom window. Back to my seat, the powers that be had decided it was time for night-night. Although the cabin was dimmed, I continued to play with the IFE and found something I thought I wanted to watch. It was a new anime series I knew nothing about. Pretty interesting, though. I'd better clarify I mean new to me. Anyway, my footwell glowed blue as we crossed over Alaska, and that's when I was served a pulled pork sandwich. I have no idea what meal this was. A&A serves Pepsi, not Coca-Cola, but I won't hold it against them. I must have fallen asleep for a little while because I can't account for all of the time. The cabin lights came back up and soon we could open the window shade. I believe this pork katsu was labeled breakfast. Looks like dinner to me. Well, whatever meal it was served about an hour before landing, so we were prepping ourselves to arrive in Japan. So, let's watch our arrival. Landed at Tokyo Haneda Airport about 30 minutes ahead of schedule, mid-afternoon. Upon arrival, we went downstairs to buses instead of using jetways. No big deal. Hey, cool, I'm in Japan. Part 2, Tokyo to Washington, D.C. This was going to be a United Polaris class flight, and we'd be aboard this 777. But immediately there was a little bit of drama. The flight was delayed, maybe about an hour and a half, and the captain himself came to address us. I tried to record him unsuccessfully, but what he essentially said was that some of the power areas weren't working on the plane, and the business class would not have the in-flight entertainment or lights. But to make up for it, we all got a snack and a free bottle of water. Well, let me spoil that right away. Once we were on the plane, everything worked except for the reading light. No big deal at all. But I have discovered I like boarding first. So let's look at the seat stuff and see how it compares with the ANA flight. The answer is pretty much the same stuff, just branded United instead of ANA. Objectively, all of these things were pretty much the same on both flights. There's that same big footroom. Well, my welcome drink came in a plastic cup instead of a glass, but it was still sparkling. Again, the seats were arranged in that 1-2-1 herringbone pattern, but I may have made a mistake because my window was kind of behind me. It was about 100 degrees. They're not all like that. This is row 2, so think about it when you make your selection. I fly United often enough that their pretty cool safety video is kind of not holding my attention anymore, but I do pay enough attention to know how to get out of the plane if I have to. Here's the safety card. So now let's go take off. Well, okay, let's wait just a minute before we take off. Very quickly I realized that unlike the trip over, the return trip was going to be a little bumpy. There was turbulence from the start, and while it was never terrible, it was always present. By the way, here's my travel hack for 777s that don't have air vents. Then it was hot towel time, closely followed by white tablecloth time. But I do have a minor complaint. This table extended too far and kept hitting me in the stomach. And yes, I've considered the possibility that this is a me issue, but it does it for everyone. While enjoying my warm nuts, let's take a look at the menu that United offers. About now, you're probably noticing why I mentioned the turbulence. Now I'll show you United's meal, and it was good. We'd been in Japan for 2 weeks, so I was ready for bread and beef. And how about a freshly made ice cream sundae? Hard to beat that. On this flight, my body had an easier time of accepting it was night, so I did a better job of sleeping. But it still wasn't a great sleep. That's not the plane's fault. Time to compare the bathrooms. This one was clean and good too, just no magical controls. Discovered the business class snack cart. I've probably been on flights that had this before, but this was the first time I actually saw it and got something from it. Now, it's somewhere around here that a few hours goes by. I don't know what happened. I'm guessing I fell asleep. Then it was breakfast time, and I had this, and I didn't really like this, and I'm not going to look up to see what this was, but there it was. We were landing, we found out that the pilot had made up over an hour of lost time, which I guess you can do when it's a 15-hour flight. We were only going to be about 10 minutes late. Head trip there is that according to the clock, I would be reliving the exact same hour twice. By that I mean it would be 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. in the afternoon on the same day, 2 times. Anyway, let's land, and notice that we're flying on parallel runway, so there's another flight landing just over to our right. How did ANA and United compare? I thought they were very much the same. I did kind of like ANA better though, I'll tell the truth. Anyway, thank you for watching. By the way, now I'm curious about code share experiences. Is there any way I could have guaranteed having ANA both directions? Comment.